We're back again. It's part two. I'm sure you all enjoyed the part one. Prof is still here with us. Amos, the maths guy. My homeboy Toks is here, and we need to do justice. Last week we spoke about what is urgent, what needed to be done, what parents should do, mode of study, don't limit your child and what have you. But this time around, we're going to get more practical actually. And there is a training coming up in the summer. You're going to hear all the details about it this time around. If you want to learn data analytics, you want to learn AI, you want to learn cyber security, well, I just said three different things and I have three different guests. So that says a lot. Yeah, one bundle, three package, one bundle. I got them all together. Am I not lucky? Even you viewers are lucky. So, guys, you don't need any introduction. But my first question to you, this time I'm starting from Toks. Toks, now, data from UNESCO, I'm sure you all know UNESCO, the United Nations Organization, shows that girls' child in the sub-Saharan Africa are significantly underrepresented in STEM education and even more so in technology-related careers. So yet the evidence globally is clear. Diverse AI and STEM team produce better and more ethical and more commercially successful outcomes. So as you think about preparing the next generation of African leaders in this space, how deliberately are you addressing the gender gap? And what specific barriers prevent African girls from pursuing STEM and AI pathways? And what should parents, schools, policymakers be doing differently to ensure that the next generation of African AI leaders is not predominantly male? Folks, over to you. I'm sure you have a lot to say on that.
So this is not, I mean, we talk about this, but it's not covered as much as it should.
Okay.
I'm blessed to come from a family where women are doing exceptionally well. My wife, my mom, my sister, aunties as well, that are doing really well. And as an engineer, working in STEM, it is true that most of the people you work with are men, right? So working in STEM is a little bit different. It's different from working in a bank. So at the time I worked as a field engineer, that means you could get a phone call and within 1 hour you have to be at the office and you might be gone for 30 days, right? So that's part of it. If you are a physicist, like Amos, for example, if you're a lab physicist, you might need to be in the lab for hours and hours and hours, and you get lost in your work. And you also have to work with your hands, for example, right? At the Berkshire Grammar School, I can't remember
Homeschool.
his I think it was he was a PTA teacher. We used to call it, I think it was Baba Day. I can't remember his name, but he would, when he would do, acceleration due to gravity, talking about the motion of the bulb and all calculating that. Boys many times can get excited about those type of things, but girls are kind of different. They get it by the time a girl is at the point where she's learning chemistry, even biologically, they're starting, there are some biological changes, right? Hormones and different things. So there needs to be more concentration on helping girls develop, right? Again, I'll throw things out at the K-12 system. Girls do not develop at the same rate as boys do, right? In many ways, they are ahead of boys. And so there needs to be more research done on that area and then change the system. Maybe girls might need to take some courses earlier. Maybe they might need to take some later, for example, because obviously girls know that they're good, as from an African perspective, they're expected to get married. And so there's also pressures from the parents that how are you going to find a husband if you're an engineer? There are also situations where parents are afraid that if my daughter is making too much money, it might be difficult for her to find a husband and things like that. So there's a lot of research and changing and coaching that needs to be done, right? Now, you also need to make it fun, right? For girls, right? So if you're doing experiments, don't just do experiments based on things that boys like. Yes, boys like if you're talking about acceleration due to gravity, yes, showing a car and doing things like that. Find examples that girls will like as well, add that into the curriculum, and also make it look pretty, right? Or make it look, beautiful. Because STEM is not, it's really, really designed for men, right? And so those type of changes will need to be done. And then there are many other things that have to be considered. I'm not an expert in that area, but I will say, as the father of a daughter, I can notice that as my daughter is getting older, she's getting less interested in some things. While my son, who's much younger, he's getting more interested in some things. And so that just gives you an example. You really have to go beyond go the extra mile to kind of help us with that. So I didn't want to go too long on that, but that's my perspective on that.
Prof, you're a veteran, you know. I'm sure you have a lot to, you're a veteran. You've seen that, done that, seen all that, been around the world, you've mentored, tutored, you know. I'm sure a lot of boys, girls have gone through you and they're all successful people today. So what's your response to that question?
Yeah, well, thank you. I don't know about the veteran aspect, but yeah,
Oh, yeah, you're a veteran.
I'm fortunate to have both genders, boys and girls. I'm blessed, see, with that. I I agree with Toks that there has to be a deliberate
Mm,
attempt, if you will, to make sure that the girls are brought along.
mm,
Um, where we come from, culturally, it's almost a case of women are to be seen and not to be heard. And obviously, even though that is changing,
mm,
a lot more work needs to be done such that they are not left behind. The women are not left behind. Whether it's in the political arena, whether it's in the education arena, whether it's in entertainment, in every aspect of life, we have to make sure that together we are better together and definitely stronger together. They are not just there to make babies and be responsible for taking care of the babies, but they also have something to say. They have something to do. We've seen a lot of very successful women today who are responsible for taking care of the environment, taking care of the home, and some even taking care of government. The STEM program we are running in Obuna Secondary School right now in Edo State, I think we have been fortunate that the division of the boys and girls is about 50-50.
mm,
And a lot of times, the girls are even more outspoken than the boys. And they are beginning to they are taking STEM very seriously. I have a daughter that when she was in high school, she was recognized for participating in STEM programs.
mm,
Even though when she went to college, she did something different, but she was interested in science. My other daughter went into did some science as well, very interested in science. Um, but she did not become an engineer, but she did a lot of science program. So science, technology, engineering, and math. We do know, I think all of us watched that program where one of the women that was responsible for the first NASA program, one of the astronauts was a woman. I think she just died recently, a black woman for that
yeah.
matter. She was responsible for what happened to the NASA program. I think if NASA program, if we can start showing the young ladies about some of these pioneers in science, in technology, in engineering and math, and not just women who are in human resources or nursing. Nursing is a form of science, right? But if we can show them some of these heroes
Mm,
that are doing things in life, in other aspects of our lives, I think they will be encouraged. That will encourage them when they start to see this type of individuals that, it's not just a man's world, but women too can be entertainers. They can be
mm,
just as good as they are as entertainers, as singers. They can equally be as good mathematician, like our friend Amos,
mm,
and or data analyst or data scientist like Toks. And so, yes, a deliberate attempt has to be made to make sure that women are included in the program. It doesn't matter, regardless of what people say about DEI. I think that we have to make that effort because for a long time, programs were in place that somehow excluded women.
mm,
And so the girls don't have a whole lot of heroes to look up to. They don't have role models to look up to. The mothers they saw we are mostly either teachers or doing some other things in the doing something else. But as we come into this new age of AI revolution, absolutely, I think I agree with the notion that we need to make deliberate attempts to make sure we recruit them. We have to go out to where they are and seek them out.
Fantastic. I think it's fair to say that, I mean, two of you have covered that very well. But I think it's fair to say that in the world we live in today, there's no profession that women have not distinguished themselves, compared to like maybe 50, 80, 70 years ago. There are even countries in Muslim world where women are more than men, maybe in aviation, IT, and what have you. Go to Tunisia, go to even Iran, you'll be shocked. So for you, Amos, I'm going to veer off a bit. I'm going to talk about screen time, AI tools, and parenting paradox. I don't want us to overflog we know the women are coming on board real strong.
Well, the women on board, if you don't mind, who was the first computer programmer?
Well, I don't know. Tell us.
Ada Lovelace.
Yeah, Toks got it. Is there a price?
So imagine there's now a revolution, but it hinges on computer programming, which was a woman.
Wow.
And around the same time, another woman, Florence Nightingale, transformed medicine and gave us the framework for mathematics topics like pie charts. That was Florence Nightingale, the Nightingale Award. And then lastly, and then I'll hand it back to you, sir, Katherine Johnson. That's who Professor Charles was talking about. Everybody must know these, and I can go on with these names, but my point is, in our classrooms, we need to dedicate sometimes a whole day, just the whole day. Sometimes teachers feel guilty doing that. If I talk about the history, we'll not finish our syllabus. Imagine what you do to my mind when you inspire me. You can't stop me. If you inspire me, you can't stop me. So, as somebody once said, education is not filling a bucket, it's lighting a fire. Let us light the fire with stories from these people from the past. Last story, and this is true, a mathematician, a woman, they were not recognizing women in the 1800s in the math community as much. Cambridge, Harvard, they just started admitting women about 100 years ago. But there was a lady that was writing math equations that people were reviewing. But her name in the math was Monsieur LeBlanc. Monsieur LeBlanc. And so one day, the best mathematician of the time and one of the best ever, his name is Carl Friedrich Gauss, he realized Monsieur LeBlanc was actually a woman. The good thing is that he actually he still supported her through. He wasn't one of those that found it to be a problem. But the point is, her math was so good, the best mathematician was noticing it. That tells us that girls are capable, 100%. We need to just give them the space, the opportunity, and not tell them things like math is for boys. No. All the words we're using, we have to be careful. Over to you, Chief. Sorry.
Yeah, fantastic. So, yeah, but if you remember, the question was UNESCO statistics about sub-Saharan Africa. You understand? I mean, most of those names are not from sub-Saharan Africa, but sub-Saharan Africa are proven. You go to Harvard, Cambridge, everywhere, you see black women from some doing extraordinary things. So let's talk about screen time, AI tools, and parenting paradox. Also, this for you, Amos. Here is a tension that many parents are genuinely struggling with. On one hand, we are telling them to embrace AI and AI and technology as tools for their children's future. On the other hand, there's mounting evidence linking excessive screen time to anxiety, shortened attention span, reduced social skills, and declining academic performance in children. So, how do you help a parent navigate that paradox, for example? Okay, at what age should a child be introduced to AI tools like ChatGPT, coding platforms, and how do you draw the line between a child using technology and learning creative instrument versus using it as a passive entertainment device that is quietly diminishing their capacity to think independently?
So this is where it becomes interesting coming from an AI guy. I wouldn't change the rigor of educational expectation. I wouldn't change the rigor. I might allow some tools here and there, but I will actually say you can increase the rigor. And so the answer to that question is, number one, parents, please, your children have a mental faculty that needs to be developed. You can't play with it. And the problem is some schools are playing with it. One boy that I was helping in geometry, I said, what did you do in class today? He said, our teacher just allowed us to go on Gemini and do our homework. So if you are using Gemini to do your work for you, why are you in class? So parents, I really want to encourage you to keep your children learning diligently on pen and paper. That's the other thing. On pen and paper, they need to be showing their work. Because at the end of the day, the people who know how to think analytically and critically and quantitatively and can reason clearly are going to win better when they touch AI. So to answer your question, when do I think? Well, first of all, the screen time thing is a serious issue. And so parents, I want to see a day where we can see children playing soccer outside and playing with one another more. Like I'm longing for that kind of, like, let them be playing more together, right? We need them to be playing with other people in real life. Number two, parents, the 2-hour recommendation from the American College of Pediatrics, I think that's a good yardstick. 2 hours or more is where we begin to see problems. And so I would say, think of your screen time as a strategy. You need to have a strategy with screen time. You can't have them using it too much. And so lastly, the reality with AI is that if we don't watch out and help children learn how to use it well, the mental health crisis will actually get worse. Much, much worse. Because AI can generate things for children to their specific taste. And that can lead them to be doing entertainment all day. That is a very bad thing. So I just think that AI is a great tool, just like the internet is a tool, but they all have to be watched carefully. So that's my advice to parents.
Fantastic. Toks, are you there? I wanted you to.
Oh, sorry. And with Chifade, the last part, when should they start using ChatGPT and so on? When they can do algebra with confidence, then I would allow them to use more AI.
Okay, fantastic. Toks, what's your input on that?
So that's a good one. And I was pulling up information. So I've been following this for quite a while because I have 2 kids and they've been, using the screen, for different reasons. Now, one of the things that is important is that it's not primarily the amount of screen time, it's what they're doing with screen time. So I was also looking that up to make sure that I'm correct. And also now Harvard University's perspective of this is also changing. So they say active screen time, high engagement, right? Passive screen time, low engagement. They talk about that. They talk about quality over quantity, right? So if your child is, is learning something new on the screen, they're doing research, they're doing it's like a science program and things like that, and they're learning and they're coding and they're doing things like that. That has a very different perspective than if they're just watching, things that are not educative. So you shouldn't just say, oh, just this amount of hours particularly. Obviously, if you go too long, that definitely doesn't work. But if you have a child and the child is using AI, is watching YouTube videos, that they're learning or they're doing stuff on Khan Academy or they're coding, they're actively engaging. That's very different, right? So don't just say, oh, you can only use the screen for an hour or 2 a day. It depends on what they're doing with it. So that would be one of my slight differences. Now, I will say I'm a big proponent of using pen and paper. That's really good because I'm not.
I am too. I use a lot of pen and paper.
So obviously, whenever you are writing something down, you're learning something. As you're writing something down, you're also building pathways in your brain, right? So one of the things I've heard recently is that dancing is one of the best things you can do for your brain because you use your motor skills, you use your memory, you also use hand-eye coordination and a lot of other things. So with your kid, if your child is using pen and paper, right? Maybe if they're using a stylus to write, that might be similar. But pen and paper, that tactile feel, your brain, all different sensors, sending data to your brain, that also helps. So you kind of want to play with that. But also remember, your kids are going into an AI world. And so if you're saying, oh, you don't want them to use screen time and things like that, that's not really the best. Now, I will say, let your kids learn how to type. That's important because if they can type, do their work more quickly, it takes them less time to work on the computer. So those are some of the things that I would say, yeah, let your kid learn how to do that at the appropriate age, for example. So
wow,
again, slightly different perspective.
Fantastic. Prof, I'm not going to ask you that question. I have something else for you. You know, yeah, this men, they're younger people. Their kids are still watching TV. So your case is different. Yeah, but I'm talking about building leaders, not just technologies. That's the question I'm asking. And they too will have to respond to that. After that, we now talk about the summer program. You know, before we call it a day. So, Prof, now. The title of this conversation is about preparing children to lead in AI and the STEM economy. Okay. So, not merely participate in it. Leadership requires emotional intelligence, ethical reasoning, communication skill, resilience, and ability to clearly inspire others. Qualities that no algorithm can replicate clearly, you know. So, there is a real danger that in our rush to make children tech savvy, we produce a generation of brilliant coders who cannot lead a team, navigate a boardroom, or make principled decisions under pressure. So, how do you ensure that STEM preparation and human development go hand in hand? And what does a truly well-rounded AI era leader look like in vision for Africa for the next generation? Nah, I'm sure it's a question you like, and I'm sure you already. The answer is in you already. You just have to, because I know you teach and you discover talent.
The reason I'm smiling, Chief Ade, is
Yeah.
because last year, fall of last year,
Okay, sir.
we were dealing with the gap kids from Jos, and one of the best experience, if you will, one of the best outcomes that we had was, even though the central theme was about STEM,
Hmm.
but when Amos and I were talking, we decided to add a little bit of business practice
Hmm.
into what they were doing. Essentially, the buzzword entrepreneurship. We taught them, took them, I think it was about 8 sessions
Hmm.
of the mindset of an entrepreneur
Hmm.
and what an entrepreneur should be doing. We said there are a lot of business people in our country, or well, in our homeland, Nigeria. They carry portfolios in the morning when they are going somewhere, but when you open that briefcase they are carrying, there are no objectives, there are no documentations, or there are no documents that show that they're actually business people. They're businessmen, but they are not doing business things.
Hmm.
And so we talked about the palliative mentality and why people wait every Christmas, they wait for government to give them palliatives. And when we were talking about the mindset of a business person, they are more or less like a preacher. Wherever they go, they see a problem, but a business person, an entrepreneur, looks for a solution for that problem.
Absolutely.
By the time we were done, I think 4 out of 5 of these kids,
Hmm.
they had business plans.
Hmm.
They had come up with business plans, and they were pursuing them. And now, all of a sudden, between myself, Amos, and another gentleman from Singapore,
Hmm.
we were looking for ways for funding to help support the businesses they have come up with. Now, why am I telling that story? I'm telling that story because in the age of AI and STEM and technology and cybersecurity and all these other things, uh, not necessarily all, some of the successful ones, they have to have a business mentality.
Hmm.
To be a successful leader, you have to be able to communicate your ideas.
Hmm.
I referenced a gentleman just now who everybody, he may not be the person, the one person people refer to when talking about businessmen in America.
Mhm.
But when you talk about CEOs of American corporations, your Chambers will be at the top 5, and maybe the top 3,
Hmm.
because this man knew how to communicate a vision. He knew how to communicate a mission. And like I said, when he talked, heads of states
Hmm.
listened because they knew he was really talking about the future.
Mhm.
And so, to be a successful leader in the era we are talking about, you definitely have to be able to communicate your ideas to people, because you're going to come into a room of people who are hungry, who are starving, who have lost faith in their government, who have lost faith in their business, who have lost faith in their leadership. And so, you have to be able to communicate your ideas to people. Because you're going to come into a room of people who are hungry, who are starving, who have lost faith in their government, who have lost faith in their And you have to be able to convince them that the ideas that you have are ideas that can help them become a better people, if you will, a better nation. Or if you are talking about a business that you have to be able to communicate your ideas clearly. When people like Mark Zuckerberg came to the scene, for example, he was going around wearing a hoodie in Silicon Valley. They said, no, he's too young. We don't want people who are wearing hoodies. We want people who are wearing suits to come to Wall Street. But this guy was going around convincing people on Wall Street that the ideas he had for Facebook were ideas that would not only challenge the status quo. Look at where he is today, from Facebook to Meta and all of that. And not only did he become a leader of that company, of that corporation, today, when presidents are sitting in White House or wherever, they call him to come and talk to them about his ideas. And so I would say that to be a successful leader today, you have to be able to communicate your ideas, your vision, the goals that you have, the expected outcome of what your program project is. So you cannot overemphasize that. And so that's what I would say.
Wow, Amos.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that, and this ties back to your first question, but it's very key to be a leader. You know, in Nigeria, you have people that are in science class, they're in arts class, they're in social science class. And I know this might sound a little controversial for some that are very used to the system. In the AI revolution, that demarcation is obsolete. You can't do that anymore. And this is coming from a guy who was in science class, in further math science class. I wish I learned more about communication. I wish I practiced more on communication. Oh, but that's for the lawyers. It's for the art students. But if you're going to be a CEO, you need to be able to communicate. But at the same time, you need to be able to collaborate. All these in Nigeria and all parts of the world, actually, close your notebook. Don't show anybody. Yes, I understand there might be times for that. But how often do we teach collaboration? Collaboration is key in the AI revolution. Why is NVIDIA partnering with Microsoft and Anthropic and OpenAI? Like, people that should not even be talking are collaborating. So that tells you that, again, that is another market signal that we are not paying attention to. So communicate, collaborate, think critically, and then I would add, pivot quickly. Pivot quickly. You have an idea, you've tried it, it's not working. Sometimes you have to pivot. Some people will say, no, I'm not pivoting yet. It doesn't mean you won't come back. It's just sometimes, especially when you're getting off the ground or navigating, be ready to pivot. Business leaders that pivot quickly, that execute with proficiency and speed, that's the key. Lastly, in a world where I can spin off agents to build websites any day, the key is no longer just ideas. Execution matters. But now the execution can even happen fast, right? Because AI can give you slide decks, websites, everything. The question is, what is the quality of your idea? So how do you vet your idea? You talk to Professor Charles. I'm giving you an example for me, right? Why will I talk to Professor Charles? Because for me, I see that he's older, he has more experience, and we try to vet some ideas together. Who is your person? Who are your people that you're talking to? So young people, I want to encourage you, make sure you have people you can talk to and get some insights, because the ideas can be executed quickly, but they can also be ideas that should not be executed sometimes.
All right, thank you, Amos. Toks, on that same question, I want to rephrase it for you somehow. Now, do you think when you are building leaders that everybody, I believe everybody has leadership qualities one way or the other, but in all this, do you believe everybody has their niche? For example, some are entrepreneurs, some are technologists, some are good administrators. For example, if four of us form a company, you understand? Maybe you have the business idea, you are the one in the lab doing all the work. Amos, are you doing that? Maybe Prof here is the MD, is the CEO, that kind of thing. Maybe I'm marketing it. Do you believe that everybody has a niche and that niche should be discovered and there should be specialty? Or, or everybody it's an all-commerce affair. What's your response? I mean, based on the question.
So I will go based on, first of all, let me talk about the design. The 6334 system was designed for you to have six years of primary education and 3 years of junior secondary school education, which was basically basically Nigeria changing it to be similar to the US system, where you have elementary school, junior high, senior high. For some reason, you know, so that was the design, that you'd have 9 years of being a generalist and learning everything, and doing well. If the school or the state implemented that well, by the time a student reaches SS1, as it used to be,
Yeah.
they should have had enough foundation on almost everything that they can go in and specialize in those particular areas, right? So that's one of the things. So that, based on how the system is supposed to be, right? Now, for me, I was blessed to be taught to be a generalist, even though I was a science student. I was, one of the top two debaters. It could be argued best or top two, right? So and one of the things for my grandfather was, the biggest thing for him was you needed to be able to communicate, right? He didn't like further mathematics, which means that his teachers could not communicate to him that further mathematics was useful. I was able to explain that to him probably around 70, and his eyes opened wide because he felt like he had missed the world.
We
You mean
never
I
stopped
can
learning, right?
because he used to teach mathematics. And when I explained to him, he said, "You mean I could calculate the slope for a curve?" His eyes just opened wide. So this was somebody who was a science student, focused on science and engineering, and I was able to explain that to him. At the time, I was at a polytechnic.
And he
I
was
wasn't
70 years old at that time, right?
was about 70 at the time.
Oh,
At the
wow.
time, my dad didn't really communicate because my dad said I should do physics, and he didn't communicate it to me well. So I went to Ogupoli or MAP and did elect, not knowing that I didn't want to be with my dad at UNAB, but I would say he didn't communicate it to me well. Now, my whole life, anytime I find anybody who has
They
another
communicate, but it's like an order. It comes like an order, they order.
So I'll put it this way, that was never my father's style. My father focused on early childhood development, focused on secondary school, university education. He never gave you orders. I filled my own common entrance form.
Oh, wow.
My older brother did his own as well. He filled his own jam form. I did all that. That's the way my dad and mom, that's how they taught us. So while you want your kids, so I will say, tell all your kids to do STEM. Why? Because you can do everything else later.
Yeah.
If you do STEM, you can go and do art. But if you do art and you go to college and you want to do engineering, may the Lord help you, right? So let everybody do STEM. So the deal I had, and I thank God for my mom, was when I said I wanted to do sciences in SS1, she was against it. And thank God they taught me, and I kind of fought. And the deal was, you will do STEM, but you must do economics. And so I was probably one of the best in my school in economics, right? And so you want to have a balance. Do STEM, but also do business, economics, or something that has to do with entrepreneurship, right? As an engineer, there's one thing I learned. The CEO is almost never an engineer. The CEO is always a finance guy, right? So think about Halliburton, think about Dick Cheney, think about Dave Lazar. Most companies are run by finance guys, but you have these juggernauts like Bill Gates, like Elon Musk, who are tech guys, but they know business. Obviously, Bill Gates' mom was a business person, right? And if you learn a little bit about Elon Musk, you see that the mom was, she had to do with finances and all of those. So you have to teach your STEM kids about money, teach them about investment, right? That means, actually, I would say that's very, very important. Teach kids in high school about investment, right? Don't just teach them economics. I know economics, but I know nothing about investment. Teach them about investment. And also, just like what Amos is talking about, is also do like a path to CEO where kids have to collaborate, right? And also make sure your kids are involved in like agric science. Make sure they learn how to cut grass. Make sure they learn how to do other things. In the process of you trying to do agric science, if you're terrible like me, you find a kid in class, say, "Hey, I need help with this." And that's how you learn those skills. A lot of kids from Abeokuta Grammar School are farmers now and doing very well at it. And it's important to teach all of those skills, right? A shout out to Government College Ibadan. That's where my dad went. And by the time he was 17, he was a master carpenter. So when they were going on strike, he could work as a carpenter. He could do anything. And so those are the things you want your kids to have multiple skills, right? That's the rub. And if you have multiple skills and you learn how to collaborate with other people, AI is for you. I love AI because that's how I think. I'm able to just tell AI what to do. I know how to handle it. I'm like, where have you been my whole life? So again, slightly different perspective, but I'm really excited about things that are coming up, even for Nigeria.
Fantastic. Now, it would be a disservice to have three of you here and not talk about what you have coming up in the summer, And let me start. Amos, tell us, I mean, the parents are eager after listening to part one and part two. What's up? What's happening in the summer? What's the game plan? How are we going to tap into all this? I have cybersecurity. Like me now, I don't like IP address. That's what that's what I just. I'm sure one day I would know it, and I'm going to be very stupid. So it's this simple. And in Yoruba in secondary school, they used to have this mark on the Yoruba. I never knew it. I had F9. So my father's driver, I was grown up and I was like maybe part four, part three. My father's driver now explained it to me in 2 minutes. I was like, what? So that as it, I mean, like, is that easy? Oh God, look at me. Anyway, so Amos, what's up for the summer? Tell us.
Robotics? Are they doing things that would help them learn to prepare for the AI and STEM revolution? Or are they still looking for opportunities for how to get plugged into a program that can equip them in mathematics, AI, computer science, data science, cybersecurity? If you want your child to learn the key technologies of the time that we're living in, along with mathematics at a high level, reach out to us, countingtocalculus.online. Countingtocalculus.online. We are seeking to revolutionize math education in the AI revolution, and we would love to work with your family this summer. Take care and have a blessed day.
So, for those who are watching, we're not, I don't want to get into all the technicalities, but if you study artificial intelligence, the technical side, you realize, first of all, it's built on data. It's a lot on data. So, if I'm going to teach artificial intelligence, which was part of my goal this summer, I thought, I need to talk about data, right? So let's find someone. Remember what I said, it's the era of collaboration.
Absolutely.
Mr. Toks has the data background. So you bring someone with data. So data gives us raw materials. Okay. We now structure the data, right? Structure the data, get it going, and then you can build with AI, certain systems. But if you build a website with AI, you have to answer certain questions. Or if you build a business, what is my cybersecurity strategy if somebody is going to try and hack my system? So it's not enough to just build AI solutions. You also need to protect those things. Okay. So I thought, why don't we start from the raw material, teach the young people AI, and teach them about cybersecurity and safety on the internet? So it's the whole spectrum, right? And by God's grace, I want this to become the roadmap for many other programs to come, where many people look around and start learning things in a comprehensive way. Not go to one shop to learn data, go to another shop to learn AI. I teach AI engineering and AI. And then you go to another shop, Professor Charles. But lastly, I'll say this, because, they say Amos the math guy, what's the connection with AI? AI does not know English. AI has to convert what you say into vector spaces, linear algebra, matrices, determinants, statistics, probability, calculus, before it gives you an answer. AI is math. That's like the whole foundation is math. How you train it, that's a different story. But you need data. So my point is, I'm teaching mathematics of AI and I'm teaching AI applications. But I need data people and I need cybersecurity people. We've created this for anybody, but I really want to see families in the US and around the world. And we're going to have a version for Nigeria in a different time zone after we work out the US program, because we're starting in June. The one in Nigeria, or anything we do can't happen till August, right? Because that's when they go on holiday. So my point is, we want to raise the next generation of STEM and AI leaders, and we're doing it through a collaboration. 3 of us helping parents to help their children lead.
Okay, so when is this starting?
June 15th.
June 15th. Oh, wow. So who are those that should come? Are you doing from elementary?
5th to 12th grade. That's my advice. Okay. Generally, I would say 7th to 12th graders, but if you have a 5th and 6th grader that is driven, for sure, I would love to talk to them. 5th to 12th grade is that season where we can also help them with mentorships, teach them about the pathway to CEO, That's the name, Toks and I have been talking about. We want to train the children to learn how to become CEOs while they're still in middle school. Because the reality is, in the AI revolution, if you're not entrepreneurial, I'm sorry, you might be left hungry.
I'm looking at the modules. Here we have AI fluency, cybersecurity. I know Prof will handle that. Cloud and data foundation, that's clearly Talks. Business and entrepreneurship, I know that's Prof.
All of us.
Data analytics and science, that's Talks again. Career preparation, I'm sure there are about two of you I see that can do that. Even all three of you. Mentorship opportunities, all three are qualified to do that. So this is it free? I mean, for someone like people want to know. We're going to share all the details, the flyer, everything for everybody to see. But is it free? Talk to me.
So I took care of that part, so that's why I'm going to answer this. But I want to hand it back to them if they want to share more.
Okay.
So in terms of the value of what they are getting, even Harvard doesn't have this model. Let's just say that. So you will be in different departments, right? We are bringing it all together. So this is a very serious program. The cost is usually $1,497, but we're cutting it down for early signups to $1,297. So if you sign up early, you get yourself $200 off. What do you get after this? Your children become AI engineers.
Oh, wow.
In a world that needs AI engineers, your children at the age of 14, 15 are literally telling CEOs how to build AI. That's what your children will learn when they come. So that sets them up to be prepared for whatever the future brings.
Okay, for anybody that wants to enroll, all the information are on the flyer, correct? So
yep.
Yeah. So, for those of you that are interested, just go to atlanticdigest.com. It's our online newspaper of our sister company. You'll see the details are there. Of course, on all the program of the Atlanta Discuss channel, State of the Nation, you get the details. Startup and Innovators, naturally, you see it, Socalismo, our sport program, you see. And of course, we do have Future Proof. You always get that. Amos is the anchor person for Future Proof. So that's that. Now, Toks, why do you think any parent should invest about $1,200, well, $1,300 for their child to attend this program? Clearly, it's written there, it's from June 15 to August 22, roughly about 10 weeks.
Yep.
Why do you think it's value for money? Why do you think any parent should invest that much for a child? Toks, over to you.
I'll start, I'll start by saying I was lucky enough to be involved in a program like this. This was in the 90s. And for some reason, my parents signed me up for that. And so at my high school, they actually had the program for a university in my high school. So in the 90s, there were 6 computers, and I really got to train with that. Myself and some other classmates that had that opportunity. We are in the IT space, so we're doing things. So I would say from experience, it helps to expose your kids to things like that. Now, one of the things I will say is that we are focusing on teaching kids how to succeed in the workforce, as so we're basically almost taking a time machine and saying, I wish I had somebody who could have taught me this when I was, from 5th or 6th grade to 12th grade, right? I wish I had somebody who could teach me this. So basically what we're doing largely is we're taking the examples that people like Bill Gates did. If you think about what Bill Gates did at a very young age, how he was able to code and create solutions, we're basically taking things that Bill Gates wishes he knew at that age, and we're trying to teach kids about that right now, right? So one of the things that I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about the cloud, like Azure Cloud. What do people know about the cloud? People hear about the cloud, right? You're going to build AI solutions. Where is it going to reside? What's a virtual machine, right? And so what's a database? What's SQL? What is, what's data modeling? What are these type of things, right? Even if you are going to use AI, that data has to be curated and delivered to AI, right? So if it's going to be a repeatable system, for example, right, you need to understand those things. So even though there are so many other technologies right now, the knowledge of data modeling, databases, right, data engineering, right, repeatable systems is still very valuable. What is data analytics? These are things that your kids should learn now. Now, once they learn those type of things, they will be able to use AI quite well. Think of it as if you have a child going to college in France, and you don't teach them French. The kid who's been speaking French from when they were a child is obviously going to be much better than somebody who has to learn French when they get to college. So those are some of the things that that I think is a very big deal. And while we're not saying pull your kids out of school, some people might say homeschool. This is kind of like a very good bridge for your kids so that they can have a much more mature future, and they won't be aliens in the world, in the AI world of the future. So.
Fantastic. Yeah. I mean, we're so pressed for time, but I have a question for Professor Orbih, and I know you teach people manually online. I mean physically and all that. So when it comes to impacting knowledge, I wish I had an answer to this, and that's why I'm asking. Like this training now is going to be via Zoom. The link for registering is already on the flyer. You're going to see it. So it's there in the chat box, and it's going to be on the screen too for you to see. So, Prof, the question is, learning online, learning physically, what's the difference? Which one do you think is more impactful? That's the final question. If you can do it in a minute or two. Yeah, muted, sir.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
It really depends. It depends on the learner, number one, and also the presenter, the instructor.
Okay.
Because more often than not, the learning objectives are the same.
Okay.
If the learning objectives are the same, the expected outcome should be the same. A successful virtual training should have the same effect as if it was done physically. Because the test for how you test for a successful outcome is if you have actually communicated what you plan to communicate, and also if the learner has acquired the skill or the knowledge that you plan to give to them. Now, it may seem like virtual training lends itself more to knowledge transfer versus skills transfer. But the beauty of learning today is tools like Zoom, WebEx, or On24, or StreamYard. These are all delivery tools. They have the ability they have the capacity and ability for you to break the classroom out into groups into groups so that they can have the same experience as if it was done live. In other words, you can break a class out into learning groups. So instead of having all 12 people sitting in one place as if you were doing it physically, you can visit them in their little rooms. It's a challenge, but you can still get the same effect from a virtual training versus doing it physically. And so it depends on how this class is structured. There's no reason why you cannot get the same impact or the same effect. Like I said, it depends on the class itself. But I would have liked to touch on a little bit on the question you asked the other gentleman.
Yeah, please
in
go
the
ahead,
sense
sir.
that in the sense that one of the challenges that AI has introduced into the world, unless you live under a rock, you've heard the word Internet of Things. What Internet of Things gave us was essentially your automobile has become an attack surface. Attack surface means hackers can use your automobile to create havoc. Your television has become an attack surface. Your watch, your phone, your computer, all of them have become attack surfaces. And with the introduction of AI, the attack surface has become bigger and bigger and bigger. And so what the people in the information security space are doing, or otherwise known as cybersecurity, is to say, even though there was panic at first because of AI, there's a little bit more working together now to say, how do we secure the environment? How do we secure the world in the age of AI? So you hear things like secure AI, data privacy. All of that is all part of what AI and cybersecurity can do together. And so for the summer class or the summer session that will be coming up, I think some of those will be some of the things that the students will learn.
Wow. So I'll say it again, Learning Institute for Excellence. That's life that they're organizing this. Yeah, but there's a lot to learn, and I will advise you all to enroll your children. You can see the flyer, it's all there. AI Fluency, Cybersecurity, Cloud and Data Foundation, Business and Entrepreneurship, Data Analytics and Science, career preparation, mentorship opportunities. I mean, you have instructors from all over the world, Singapore, everywhere. I mean, it's almost like it's free, you know. So 20 sessions, 10 weeks, 7 tracks. It's a global faculty. So it's a wrap there. Thank you, Toks. Thank you, Amos. Thank you, Professor Charles. Thank you
Thank you.
for, yeah, I'm sure.
And Chief Ade, we
Yes.
already have an invitation from Houston, Texas to host an in-person version.
Oh,
And so
wow.
for those who are in Houston, please stay tuned. Learningforexcellence.com is the website.
Okay.
We, Toks and I are already talking, and then we have a venue person that was asking, please, can you host one here? So we are looking at Houston and Atlanta and probably Professor Charles, North Carolina. But this is something where we can do a special one-off event, right? We're not talking about all the details, but please follow what we're doing. We will have some opportunities in person so we can eat jollof rice and talk about AI too.
Oh,
Thank you.
I love the smell of that, not the sound of it. Don't worry, we're gonna make sure. I mean, on Startup and Innovators, no matter even if it's just 5 minutes or 10 minutes every day, we'll talk about the program for that 10 weeks duration. We are partners in progress. For us, I love things like this. For me, it's a must do. It's a must cooperate. It's a must. I mean, the partnership made in heaven. I mean, three of you are extraordinary people. I know you personally. You're all wonderful people. It would be a disservice for anybody not to take this kind of opportunity. I've spoken to each of you individually, and now you're all reservoirs of knowledge. So, to all our viewers, is a wrap there. See you all at live, and let's make the best out of this summer. Not just for us as parents, but for the kids. The future is bright.
Thank you.
Let's plan for it. Bye. Take care. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.